Someone broke into the place where you hide the beast. What happens to them? Well, good golly. She ate him, or them, or her, or whoever. Like usual, those are the painted bones hanging from the branches. This is not rocket science. She's not called, the cuddly stuffed animal. She's not called, the nature love goddess. Of course. And as I said, again, she's the beast. You broke off a relationship with someone when you started having sex with the beast. Who was it? Did I? I did. Yes. There was a person with whom I was having an affair. A lover. And, having a lover while you are married, over time, there's one problem with an affair. It turns into a relationship. And then it turns into a commitment. And that commitment basically turns into a marriage, a parallel marriage, because it's defined by the actual marriage. And so therefore you're basically living this complete double marriage life with very, very similar obligations, very, very similar emotional contexts and understandings. And you know what? I don't see how anybody can do that. It seems to happen a lot, and I still can't tell you why. Beast solved that problem entirely. And really, couldn't imagine a better ending. The beast is sick. Are you still having sex with it? What did you have to change in the way you do it? Right. Certainly, I got a very distinct image of how the beast is sick. It's the world. It's the rest of the world. The beast's existence is, well, that's what being sick is. Your existence is threatened. Well, anyway, I've got a real clear idea of what the beast looks like. She's listless and hard to rouse, hard to connect with. I actually don't try or impose or certainly not demand sex with her while she's sick. But as it happens, it's a major way, apparently, of what she feels she needs or distracts herself from her illness, or perhaps is trying to cure her illness and will, out of the doldrums of basically just being comforted and held. I don't know if comforted is the right word. She doesn't respond as if she were comforted. But anyway, in the sense of at least just being held or me just being there, wondering if I'm having any effect at all, then she will ferociously turn into a almost predatory, predatory form of lust. It is frightening. It's not as personal. And demands a lot more physical strength from me, and in order almost I wouldn't say even self-defense, but it's in that zone, that amount of strength and counter strength. And the passion is very real and very arousing, but definitely it is a different experience. How did your body react after your first intercourse with the beast? How does it react now? After the first, and I would say during what I would think of as the first phase of this interaction, relationship, without all the bad connotations of that thing or the familiar connotations. Well, anyway, after the first and ongoing, invigoration, sense of purpose, to your body instead of just watching it fail and feel it fail and run down and run into multiple problems and going through repeated efforts of nutrition or exercise or whatever just to kind of shore up and finalize the process of being able to stand living in the body and being a dying animal. That seemed to have been solved, or at least so changed that it was almost like worth anything to have this effective, I'm not going to say youth, an effective sense of connection to the world all around and the sense of functioning in it without the sense of simply being ground down or hitting speed bumps or stopping points. Okay, so what about now? Well, now that she's sick, well, a lot of things. First of all, the more bruising or demanding physicality definitely leaves me wrenched and achy and kind of beat up. But that is never bad enough to be truly injurious and recovers quickly. I also have noticed no one else has or commented on it. It doesn't seem to be as obvious as I would think it would be. I think I'm getting a little bestial, changing, maybe just to myself. What secretions or other things do you have to clean up after coupling with the beast? I'll break this into two parts, which I suspect will be the case for a lot of these things after the card that I got a bit ago, which is before the beast got sick. The secretions in question were a powerful female smell, the smell of sex, the smell of dirt, the foresty, mulchy, odors, the goo, basically as primal and sticky and non-cinematic evidence of sex as one could imagine, possibly compounded with I'm thinking of gooey chalk-like daubs that one might be painted with, that are included in the activity. Blood, probably not, in terms of either from ourselves or from, I'm thinking of animals sacrificed or eaten. That's probably not in the picture, in the first part of all this. However, more recently, I think that's probably come into it. I have been rather desperate to see whether I can help the beast in her sickness. And so I'm coming up with all kinds of strange ideas, bringing in an animal to kill, and perhaps do some sort of improvised ritual with its blood to see whether that helps. And that sort of thing requires a little cleanup, certainly. That's probably about it. Yeah, showering back then and showering now would seem kind of important. And probably having experimented with any number of different products to see which one actually sheep dips me well enough to expunge or mask said evidence. The beast gave you a gift. What is it? In the midst of her sickness, as I attempt to hold her, the beast is big. It's hard to, hold the beast in that sense of the word. But as I try to do so, she coughs up in a truly frightening spasm, which for a bit there, I actually think she's going to die. She coughs up an initially oozing mass, which dries and is perceivable as a knotted and tangled mass of vegetation and perhaps undigested tissue and other less less nameable scraps, but pressed into something of startling solidity, even though it's got like spiky bits poking in different directions. And it's clearly given to me as a gift. She's conscious enough and recovered enough. Actually, it seems for a bit, perhaps on the mend even, upon giving it to me, indicating to me very clearly. I'm never sure if I know she talks. We have conversations. So much of the communication, though, seems more intuitive, but sometimes I can't remember whether it's a conversation or not. This is one of those times when she makes it very clear, either by articulating it or otherwise, that this is for me. And it may seem like kind of a gross thing to have. Oh, gee, thank you ever so much, as your cat coughs up something nameless on the floor for you. But that's not actually the way it feels at all. This is much more profound. There's potential here. There's something primal, perhaps even a bit, hippy dippy earth seed, earth embryo, earth origin in this. Some sense of this may survive all of this, meaning everything else, that it could be some kind of a new beginning, or this could be in some fashion hope. A gift presupposes that you don't have any of it, or you don't have that. In this case, that's entirely correct. I'm going to take care of this thing. Do you use any protection while having sex with the beast? If so, what is it? No. The much more basic danger of having sex with the beast, which actually I tend to forget about and overlook, which is simply the physicality of perhaps being killed, and the somewhat more metaphysical concern of eliminating myself from ordinary existence, perhaps never returning, perhaps even by choice never returning, all of those are so profoundly present, if, as I point out, not at the forefront of my mind. But anyway, so present as realities that if I were ever to say, well, gee, what about protection of some kind? I might be a little bit more concerned about those than I would be about more standard concerns of STDs. And besides, it seems a little odd. There are several angles on this. One is the notion of anything is worth whatever price in this case. So if that is a price to pay, then it simply is. If, on the other hand, this act is, as it seems to me, to be of immense significance, both to me personally, but much more in the sense of somebody doing this at all, to perhaps be a little over, assuming too much about it or perceiving too much about it, that this is an incredibly important act at some level above and beyond me personally. That something as what is the concept? Something as ordinary as an STD simply doesn't enter into it. So no, protection, pish posh. There's a certain amount of raw spontaneity to it all. So a certain complete authenticity to it all that obviates all thought of such. I don't think about it going in. I don't think about it coming out. I don't think about it as an issue. That it had not even occurred to me in any way, shape, or form until being asked. But I do wonder and worry a little that maybe I had that whole concept back to front, and instead of thinking about what I might catch or how I might get sick or how I might bring something with me back or something like that, rather the opposite, that I hope I didn't get her sick. And if I had, could protection in the ordinary sense of something you'd buy in a drugstore, actually would that possibly make any difference for the kind of thing or problem or illness that I might bring with me from the world I know to her?